In a world full of dangers, the most powerful warrior in the kingdom is a simple farmer. In a magical world, a group of adventurers fight a dragon in the forest and are surprised to see that the creature possesses an S rank, so there is nothing their combined efforts can do to defeat the creature. In the distance, the farmer works in his garden and confuses that loud roar and flashes with explosions, so he doesn't give it too much importance. After harvesting his vegetables, he manages to raise his farming skills to level 10, being able to unlock those skills on a video game-style screen because there is nothing better than having a bright sign that constantly reminds you of what you are worth. Al comments on his level increase to his friend Testa, who reminds him that not so long ago, his level in fishing also reached that score, which is rare since Testa, who is a fisherman, has no level 10, and does Al attributing his skills to a blessing called growth promotion. When his statistics poster recommends merging all his skills, the young man discovers that he is blessed by another skill called the grace of the earth. Testa is surprised to see that for some reason, our hero has increased his warrior skills to 73,612 points. Al is surprised but equally doesn't give it much importance since warrior skills are useless for a farmer, and he sets out to take his crops to market without thinking twice about what happened. However, during the trip to the city, our hero sees the adventurers fighting the S-rank dragon and tries to distract it by throwing a carrot, only for the carrot to defeat the dragon after causing an explosion. Our protagonist continues her journey, but the adventurers, intrigued, decide to investigate who could have destroyed the dragon and find the tracks of the cart in the city of Megis. A criminal takes the princess, Foul YS, but with his new perception skills, Al dodges the kidnapper's attacks and defeats him, allowing the guards to arrest the criminal, Foul YS, thanks Al for his help, but the young man, realizing that the market is about to close, runs away, leaving her with the gratitude hanging. When he finishes his business, but when he wants to leave from the capital, Foul YS prevents him and thanks him for the help in the right way and offers him a place in the castle. Al doesn't want anything to do with the offer as he hates royalty, but he keeps his opinions to himself and respectfully rejects the offer and tries to withdraw. But Foul YS prevents him. Foul YS explains that the kidnapper had more than 500 warrior points, something impressive since normal humans usually only have 50, and yet Al defeated him. So he offers him a field of 33,000 square meters to cultivate. At the same time, the adventurers return after defeating the dragon but refuse to claim responsibility and admit that someone else helped them. He takes advantage of this and flees to his fields. Later, news reaches Megis of an army of monsters that had not been seen since the death of Macbeth, the demon lord. Macbeth had led the war against humanity, but after his death, humans and demons had managed to put together a peace treaty which apparently risks breaking down. Officer Cecil demands that they destroy the army, but after luring Foul YS and his father, the king, away from Megis, he reveals that he is actually Romeo Van Ded, Macbeth's demon general, and that he intends to take Foul YS and the king and then impersonate the king to rule Megis himself. Cecil, who gives me distrust, asks the king and the princess to flee since it was thanks to his humanity that the king did not destroy all the demons and now he must pay for that act of kindness being attacked by the demons. That is, he tells him that he is a good person, but that it is his fault what is happening. That night, Al comes home and still doesn't control his new battle skills, accidentally destroying the doorknob. He's too tired and just wants to sleep. However, his rest is interrupted by Testes, who warns him that an army of demons is approaching Megis. In the countryside, worried that the demons will trample his crops, our hero heads to the field only to find them safe and sound but still manages to spot the army of demons. Al wonders if he should intervene or not because he worries that the army will destroy Megis and leave him nowhere to sell his vegetables. Meanwhile, Cecil directs the king and princess into a trap where he fights the king and reveals himself to be Romeo Van Ded. Romeo attacks the royal family, planning to defeat them and use his powers to shape-shift and take the king's place. The family tries to protect themselves, but their powers are no match against those of the devil. When all seems lost, Al comes to the rescue and effortlessly defeats Romeo. As a reward, Fowl YS offers Al again a 33,000 square meter field to cultivate in exchange for him registering as an adventurer to serve the kingdom when needed. Not having too many options, Al accepts but realizes that he has been deceived when he visits the countryside and finds a wasteland unsuitable for farming. Phyllis, who has taken a personal interest in our hero, guides our hero on a tour within the kingdom. When Al asks her if she does not have something better to do, that is, work, she replies that currently her tasks as a princess are carried out by her trusted maid, Albi, in disguise. Phyllis takes out to the Adventurers Guild, and our hero reminds her that he is not very enthusiastic about the idea since all he wants is to be a farmer. She understands but gives him no choice. She also reminds him not to reveal his identity to the guild members since no one should know that she is actually Phyllis and asks him to call her Philia. Al tells her that she will still be discovered when they recognize her. After all, she is the princess, more famous than that is not achieved. But she tells him that she is actually wearing a magical accessory that prevents people from recognizing her. Having covered all the angles to avoid comments from fussy fans, it's time to start with the blessed story in the guild hall. Al discovers that rumors about his exploits have begun to circulate, and he is greeted with kindness by the other adventurers. Helen, the secretary of the kingdom, receives him kindly and invites him to lunch. During the interview, our hero is greeted by the adventurers of the Dragon Affair, Jake, Lamia, and Luke, who have finally discovered that it was our hero who was responsible for helping them, which does nothing but increase the popularity of our farmer, who just wants to dedicate himself to his humble task. The adventurers invite him to be part of the guild, and now he feels that with each encounter, his previous life fades more and more, and soon he will not be able to devote himself to his passion. Al requests a mission, but discovers that despite his power, he is still a beginner, so there are missions that pay well but outside his range. Helen tells him that with his abilities, he will soon be able to ascend to S rank, but inside himself, Al promises himself that this will not happen since what he least wants is to excel more in a task that he does not like. Al accepts his first quest, so Helen gives him his old robe as a beginner's team. Later, in the forest while our hero collects the herbs, Al is attacked by a female orc with intentions to lie with him, who grabs him by surprise but is rescued by Jake, one of the adventurers. Luke and Lamia arrive. Al thanks them and shows them a strange scale he found in the forest, which Jake recognizes as the scale of a black dragon. But it is said that it is not possible less in that forest. However, the super rare black dragon appears, bringing with it an aura so terrifying that even Al freezes in fear. Luckily for him and his friends, the dragon completely ignores them. That night, Helen suffers nightmares and memory lapses. Al informs the dragon to the Gilbat. When assessing his statistics of 230,000, identifies him as Zuroboros the Malevolent. The name activates something in Helen's memories, and the young woman abruptly recalls a buried memory of her brother, Rai, who was defeated by Ouroboros and was the original wearer of Al's new robe. Helen's adoptive mother, One, is surprised that Helen gave out her robe, explaining that when she found Helen as a child, all she had was amnesia and that rope. A young postman named Reeks hands Al a letter from his mother. Al goes to the library to research on Ouroboros, but the official books do not give him much information, so he asks for access to real records, but the librarian denies him access since our hero does not possess the necessary rank to access that information. However, Phyllis appears and orders the librarian to give him access to our hero. So Al and Phyllis access the reports of the day Helen was found and discover that Ouroboros had destroyed the town of Onel, which could have been Helen's birthplace. They also learn that Ouroboros was supposedly defeated by his enemy, Dragon Mirage the Benevolent. Searching around, Al encounters Rai as a ghost, though Phyllis is unable to see him. Rai explains that he has waited 15 years for someone who could see him. When he talks to Rai, who explains that the cape that our hero wears is the same one he wore when he was alive and was charged with a strong protective energy. Noticing that Fulis cannot see the child, Al deduces that communication is made possible by the cloak, so he wraps the princess with her. Fulis is embarrassed to be embraced by our hero but is shocked when he is suddenly able to see Rai, a product of the cape's power. Rai introduces himself to the two as Helen's younger brother. Fulis tells Rai that Helen doesn't remember much about her past, and her brother understands that she may have suppressed the horrible memories of what happened in her village, but also warns our heroes that the young woman could be in danger. 15 years ago, Rai and Helen lived in Arnold, where the boy dreamed of becoming a warrior capable of protecting his sister. On a day like any other, Ouroboros appears out of nowhere and destroys the village completely. Although we witness how Ouroboros first scared his victims to feed on their souls full of despair, the two brothers, knowing that there is no other option, decide to flee. But the dragon catches up with them and goes for Helen, who is saved at the last moment when her brother attacks the dragon, causing no harm but infuriating him enough to defeat him instead of his sister. Before leaving, the dragon tells the girl that within 15 years he will return to feed and says goodbye, leaving Helen alive so that she could spread the story, causing fear in other human people so that in 15 years when Ouroboros returned, a new feast of human despair would be ready. Rai turned into a ghost so he could keep an eye on Helen and now warns Al that Ouroboros will want Helen in the city of Megis. Al worries that he is not strong enough, but Rai tells him that if Ouroboros feeds on despair, the opposite emotions should weaken him. Rai asks Al to convey that message of hope to his sister. Our hero, along with Foul YS, rushes back to Megis to prepare for the return of Ouroboros. When the two arrive in Megis, Al heads to talk to Helen while Foul YS returns to the palace to prepare the royal troops for the imminent arrival of the evil dragon. However, Al does not find Helen in her room, since the young woman has had a dream where she reunites with Ouroboros.